All right. Let me start off by saying I don't have a problem. Well, I got lots of problems. I don't have this problem. I don't care what you say. I am not a hoarder. I'm not. I just see potential in cool things, right? I mean, we did El Pulpo, right? And so what did I do? I bought a cigar rest looking thing. It's supposed to be a pen rest, but a cigar rest is shaped like an octopus, so I could take pictures with the El Pulpo, which means octopus. But did I actually use it? No, and I bought two, and I can't throw them away because I may use them one day, right? I got I got all sorts of stuff here. I mean, I got tons and tons and tons of tonnage of stuff that, oh, this is one of my favorites and I haven't used this in a while. I need to pull this back out. It's a reflector light from something, but if you shine your light up under it, it actually emits a glow, which kind of gives a cool look under the photo. But I haven't used it in forever. I got hundreds of things like that. But if it's cheap, if it's cool, if it's neat, I may pick it up. I like the mall. When we go shopping for the holidays, I know most people don't, but I like the mall because I have lots of options, right? I can go to different stores and see if they have different stuff on sale, or if this store doesn't have what I want, then that store may have what I want, or especially Christmas shopping. I mean, First Lady likes boutiques. She likes to go in and just be selective about the stuff and very mindful about the things that she picks out. And then, you know, we get in the vehicle and we go to another place and we do that again. We get in the vehicle, we go to another place, do it again. Me, I want to park and just go. I just want to go. Stop at the food court, get something to eat. Then I've stopped at the bathroom about an hour later. But then just, just pack it all in and do it all once. But I love a good flea market. I like a garage sale. I do. I used to be a big garage sale guy, but you still have to go from place to place. But sometimes at garage sales, you can hit a home stinking run. Oh my gosh! But you gotta be careful because years ago when the kids were still in school and I had my shop, I always had a Sharpie on my neck because I would write all my notes on my hand because I believed I'd lose paper, but I won't lose my hand. And so I always had a Sharpie and I was running through Sharpies because my hands are greasy. It was greasing up Sharpie, blah, 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 blah. And we were at a garage sale and there was a full on Staples kind of, Office Max kind of Sharpie display. All sorts of colors. Tons. Guy had them five for $1. I'm like, five for $1. So I told the guy, I said, what's your best deal? He goes, how many you want to buy? And I said, well, if I get 10 for $1, I'll buy 100. He goes, done. 100 freaking Sharpies for $10. You know how much a Sharpie costs? That's like buying, even at the black Sharpies, and these were all the colors. All the colors. Kids had all the colors. You had all the colors. Even the black ones are $2 a piece, $1.75 a piece, something like that. Let's say $2 a piece, make it simple. So you buy 5 and get 95 free. So I get all these Sharpies, and I'm bragging about them back at the shop, and I'm proud and all this other stuff. And then I go to write with them, and really, really, really fast, they don't write anymore. Fast. So I happen to look at the Sharpies, and then I see the script, and it says, Shanky. I got Folexed. I got Fuji'd. That guy was calling me a sucker when he was taking my money. Shankies, right? And so sometimes when I think about a deal is too good to be true, I'll call it a shanky. Oh, I ain't going to get no shankies today. So, but I love the flea market. I do. Potential in things. Things that people are casting away. Now, I don't like going up to the people that do it for a living. They basically don't pay rent for a place. They just put their stuff out all the time, or they set up a booth there, and it's basically a store without walls, or customer service, or warranty return. I like the people that are just selling their stuff. They got too much stuff, or Christmas is coming, they need to make some extra money, or they, blah, 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 blah. And you can get some deals there, especially when it's later in the day and they don't want to carry that crap home. And I'm not going to say I excel at it, but I do grab the heavier stuff most times. And most people will sell it cheap because they don't want to load it back up. And Alex said that, you really don't want to load this back up, do you? You got to carry that thing home and blah, 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 blah. You just let me, I got real cash right here. I'll give you $50. I'll give you $10 for it. And usually, I get a good deal. I will. It's crazy the deals I get. If you don't ask, you don't get. So, my problem is I get excited with the deal. For instance, everybody needs one. They do. This thing right here is a springy lanyard. How cool is that? What, you could use that for a million things. If you don't have a curtain rod, you could hook this between two nails. You can hang your curtain on it real quick if you just ain't got no curtain rod, right? If you need to chain your dog up real quick, you can hook your dog up. You can take your dog out like that. If you need to tie up some rope or something, you can put it through there and clip it and hang it on the. And it's even got a lock on it too. You got to twist it to lock so it doesn't just come loose, right? Look at that. You can tie down stuff in the back of the truck bed. Man, this thing comes in handy. And what it's made for is you take your tool, you loop it like so, put your tool in there, and it don't let go, right? So it holds your tool. You can hook it to your belt if you're climbing or you're rigging or something like that. This is basically a rigger's gear. These things right here, I think they were $3 a piece. Had to have it. But he had 2 5-gallon buckets of them. So I said, hey, let me ask you a question, buddy. It's $3 a piece. If I bought a bucket full, would you give them to me for $1 a piece? And he goes, I don't know. I said, Bubba, ain't nobody moving on these. You got a ton of them. You got them at an auction. And that's a lot of space that you could put something else in your trailer, in your truck that you could move faster. He looked at me and smiled. And it was $1 a piece. So I counted them out, and there was like 22. It was 22. And I said, all right, there's 22 here in this bucket. But, I don't want to take your change. How about you let me get 30 for 25? He looked at me. Yeah, you going somewhere now? And I said, yeah, I'm leaving. He goes, all right. So I got 30 of these dang things. What the heck am I going to do with 30 of these things? I tried to figure out what to do with them. I can't even figure it out, but I got them in the shop. I'm that guy. Now, I got them. If you need them, Bubba, I got you, right? Other things I see for photos, right? This I love this thing. I remember when I was growing, it hits nostalgia. It's cheap. I remember playing with these in my papa's shed. My father, my papa's my mom's daddy, my grandpa. My father was very not mechanically inclined. Absolutely not. At all. That was not his lane. He was much more intellectual. He worked at the post office, but other than putting gas in the mower, that was about it. We changed the oil in the car one time, and we used a screwdriver, a hammer, a pair of channel locks, and pliers, because we put the channel locks on the nut for the oil to drain the oil pan, and got that drained out. Big old mess. Didn't have ramps, so we had to pull up on a little bump in the driveway. And then we took the screwdriver and we held it to the oil filter, and we drove a hammer through the screwdriver, or drove the screwdriver through the oil filter so that we could twist it off. We didn't have an oil filter wrench. That's how mechanical and we never did it a second time. So he was not mechanical at all, but his father was. And his father had left him all the tools, and my father didn't do with the tools, so I had a little shed. We called it the Buddha house. I had a little shed where I had all the tools set in there with the old tools. I mean, they're just old tools. But one of the tools that I loved playing with, one of the tools that really was my fidget spinner back then, because I had a little radio, a little makeshift bar stool, and I would go sit out there and listen to the radio and just be by myself, right? Such great times. Anyway, this thing right here, carpenter's ruler, right? This thing right here. I love this thing. Not very effective. Tape measure, 100%. I will not pull this thing out to do construction, building decks, building houses, building anything. This is not for that. This is for nostalgia. This is for photos. I've done some photos with this. Actually, on the Sin Compromiso cigar I did. I think it was, does it measure up? But here's my problem. It was a good deal on them, but it was about a dozen of them. So I walked up and I told myself, you don't need these, Bob. And I told myself, but I want these, Bob. Bob, you don't need these. Get one. I don't want one. One's not good. One won't do. So I told myself, I said, Bob, I'll tell you what. You come up with a stupid price to where he says no. So that when you walk away, you'll say, well, I tried and he just wasn't willing to go, so maybe next time. That way you feel like you've won and you didn't have to take him home. I do that regularly. But it was late in the day. It was extremely hot at the flea market, and you could see that guy's table was still really full near the end of the day, and he didn't look like he was moving stuff, and he didn't look like he had eaten many meals or done much laundry. So he's a little rough around the edges. Nothing wrong with it, but he was. And so I think he had these at $5 a piece or something like that. It was something right around that price, which is a crazy price. It's a great price. Even had the ones with the metal slides, the metal. Anyway, let me not geek out. And so I said, look, you got how many of them? 13. I don't need them, but he goes, make me a deal. Make me a deal. And I said, $10. He goes, done. And I'm like, crap. And Sarah, the first lady, she's like, you don't need 10 of those. I know. I got plans and projects. I got a shed full of plans and projects. So I got these. See, that's where my head is, but that's not just all of it, because I want stuff that I can tell stories with. That's a good story. I can tell that story. I could have made a whole story out of that, talking about that. I could. But this thing I love because I love to show it to the younger people. I had one of these when I was in my shop, and I paid like $1 and change for it. But I had one of these when I was in my shop, and the kids would come in, the young kids would come in to get their oil changed. And I say, I'll tell you what, if you can tell me what this is used for, I'll take $5 off your oil change. And I'd show it to them, and very rarely did they ever know until... I think it was my kids, until somebody started letting them know, when you go in there, tell them that's that. So the jig was up, but it was fun for a while, and it educated the kids, and they actually come and hang out. You know, they'd ask medical or mechanical questions and stuff. But I'm talking about this thing right here. I actually used one of these when I was a kid. This, if you don't know, is not an elephant snout. It's not part of a robotic weirdness. This is... You remember the oil cans you see on American Pickers that is cardboard on the sides and metal on top? You take this heifer and you put it on the top, and it's got that point. And you push it in there, and it punches a hole in the actual can. Then you take and you punch another hole on the other side just to let air come through, and then you pour it into your car. This is that. Before plastics came out. This is that. That's what this is. Now, you got to be really careful, because if you're not paying attention, you're in a hurry like I was, you will take and you'll punch this in and you'll push it through and you'll cut the cardboard, and then it leaks all over the place, and you can't not use it because you didn't buy enough. And you make a big old mess and you get in a lot of trouble. Right? But that's what this is. I had to have this because it's small and it was cheap and it's yellow, it's shiny, Makes good pictures, right? Right? In the apocalypse, we can use it as a spoon or a shovel. Three more. So sometimes I want to be able to share with the grandkids. I want to be able to teach the grandkids and show them the appreciation for tools. I believe that before a young mechanic gets a power drill or a power ratchet or a power anything, that they should have to use the old ratchets and box screwdrivers and or box wrenches and regular screwdrivers and all this other stuff before they get into the fancy stuff. Because if you start off with fancy stuff, if you're somewhere and you don't have the fancy stuff, you're screwed, right? Learn the basics and then add to. So I look for opportunities to share that with the grandkids. I do. Because craftsmanship is a lost art. It's falling away. People aren't learning. I've got a lathe. I've got a welder. I've got a plasma cutter. I've got a forge. I've got presses and drill presses. And so I want to teach them those crafts. Now, right now, putting them on a forge would probably be a bad thing. They're a little small. But I saw these, and I got a great deal on them. I did. First lady was behind this, too. She was agreed. This guy had 10 of them. I was very proud. I only got 2. These are original drills. Look at that thing right there. And it still works. I love it. I think one of them, yeah. One of them actually was fancy. You unscrew the back of it, and you unscrew the back of it, and you can put bits in there. Now, that's fancy. That was high dang dollar. I had one of these when I was a kid. This is one of the drills that I used. Right there. Look at that. Old Jacob's chuck. Right? And it's cool for pictures, but the reason I got it, and the reason I got 2, is because I want to teach the kids about it, and then I want to let them have competition where they can see who drills the fastest or who set up 10 holes. We make 10 marks on a board or something, and we'll see who comes closest to perfect drill, right? Teaches them hand-eye coordination, dexterity, attention to detail. It gives them a little bit of history, and it gives them something fun to talk about when I'm dead and gone. You know, Big Daddy, that's what they call me. Big Daddy sure did have some weird stuff, but you remember when we played with them drills? And also, as a kid, it's a machine gun. Yeah, I did, and if you were a boy back then, you did too. So that's one of the other things I'm on the hunt for, and the flea market has lots of that stuff, and I got that extremely cheap, and I got some. I think you had a couple of these too. Now I'm done with these because I've got too many. I'm done with these little straps because I've got so many. I could have brought in hundreds of things. I could have. But now I also like things that just look cool that have lost their usefulness. Things that, for whatever reason, are obsolete, or you have no clue what it is. And that's this Doomajaggy. Look at this thing, right? It's got a hand that twists all the way to the end. These lock and unlock right here. This locks and unlocks. These look like tapered cutters to put a taper hole that would swap with this one. I think this one's broke. You'd swap with these, so you'd have different sizes. And I don't know what this would be, a hole centerer, but what would you need to go that far down to taper out the very end of a hole that is bigger than? See, I don't get it. I don't know what this is for. It's probably a very specialized tool. It's an old tool, I can tell you that, and it's all brass, other than the inserts, which I would believe are high strength steel, maybe even tool steel. I would think maybe high carbon steel. It would be hardened for sure because it's got a bit on it. So this would be different than this, but this is all brass, which could mean that it's, well, no, because it's got the inserts. I was going to say it's in a spark resistant. It might be in a flammable area, but that wouldn't make sense. But I have no clue what this is. This is ridged so that each hole sets, so it centers. It would center on each hole. It's a very precise tool. the threads are very thin. The pitch is small on it. It's got the knurled grips. This was not cheap when it was made, and I guarantee it was not cheap when it was sold. This looks like something for a machinist. This looks like something for a engineer. This looks like something for science or something. This is not something you use to build a house. But look at it. It's got some markings on it. I haven't done any research whatsoever. If you know what this is, I would love to know. But this is it's just weird, right? And I just love it. Right? It just sits here, and one day I'll put it in some pictures. I don't know how to put it in pictures to make it look sense, but it's just cool. And when I die and they have to go through all my stuff, they'll sell it for 15 cents, or they'll scrap it. So, or someone to say, you know what, I want that. That's cool, and then it'll live on, right? So there's one last thing. I like things that most people don't have. I do. I like exclusivity. I do. I like things that are for the trades, that is extremely expensive, that nobody has because it's very specialized. Something kind of like this, but something that is recognizable. That thing right there, that's not recognizable. This purchase, last one. This purchase was, I didn't want it. I wanted it, but I didn't want it. I thought it was cool. I wanted to want it. That's a better answer. I wanted to want it. And I knew that I didn't need it. And I knew that it was going to be extremely expensive. And I have some of these kind of like this, but I didn't have one like this. And this is very unique. Very unique. I know what it's for. It's very unique. And I was like, but I gotta ask. And so I'm sitting there going, I'm not gonna get it because I'm not gonna take over, $10, $15. I ain't gonna do it. I don't need to pay that much. I don't need it. But you gotta ask, Bob. Go ask. So I went up. This lady, nice lady, flea market. She had all sorts of stuff, just all sorts of household stuff, just whatnots and knickknacks and kitchen tables or kitchen stuff, a little music box maybe, some Tupperware, some mismatched stuff, all this stuff. And this, and some old crappy tools, and CDs, and cassette tapes. I mean, it was just cleaning out whatever she had. So I walked up and I said, hey, that thing right there, what you get for it? That's what I say. What you give for it? Because that, in this area, that builds instant camaraderie. It builds language. I'm not talking like big city. Excuse me, how much is that? Price goes up. Around here, sadly, don't be mad at me, we call it the Yankee price. We do. I'm not saying nothing bad about them. I'm not saying nothing bad about anybody but the Mason-Dixon line. I got amazing friends from up there. People are great wherever they are. I mean, but it's just a stereotypical statement. Yankee price. So you say, hey, Bo, how much, what'd you give for that? How you doing? Say how you doing first. Hey, how you doing? Just that moment of building that, because that gets them to topically like you, and then they'll choose maybe to give you a better deal than they would. And it happens many times. Many times. It does. I've seen people come up and ask for something, and I'll go right behind them, and I'll ask for half the price, and they'll sell it to me. They won't sell it to the other guy. It happens. It's a flea market. Anyway, I asked the lady, I said, what'd you get for that? And she goes, this? And I said, yeah. She goes, you want this? I said, it's cool. She goes, what did she say? Let me make sure I get this right. She goes, how about $1? It's either $1 or $5. Either way, it doesn't matter. I want to say it was $1, but let's make sure I don't exaggerate. How about $5? And I said, you made me buy it. Right? It's another one of my catchphrases. If you give me a great deal, especially if it's other things that I'm asking about or I'm gonna ask about, I'll say, you made me buy it. And so then the next thing I'll say, hey, why don't you make me buy that over there too for this amount of money, right? Okay, anyway. You want to see what it is? I don't need it. I'm going to have to do a project just so that I can use it. Seriously. I don't need it. But if I ever need it, boy, I need it. God, this thing's heavy. Jeez Louise. Look at that. Look at that thing right there. It don't even reach all the way. That's as close as it'll close, right? God, it's heavy. This thing is so heavy. I'm proud of myself for holding this thing up. Look at that thing right there. I mean, it is American steel. It is thick. Wow, you think I'm kidding how heavy this is. Look how thick that is. That's thicker than a Snicker. Oh, my God. Look at that. Look at that right there. That is heavy cast right there. That thing is amazing. Ain't even got no wear on the ends. This thing retail, if you were to buy this for what it's used for, you're spending hundreds of dollars. Hundreds. And sad thing is, I've got bigger ones out there. That's called a bridge clamp, or a beam clamp, or a rigger's clamp. If you're putting big beams together and you're up in the air, or you're trying to put stuff together and temperatures cause the big I-beams, I'm talking about big stuff, to flex and this and that, and your bolts won't line up and you can't get it to set just right, you can throw that clamp on it and you can pull that thing too, and it'll pull the bow out of it, and it'll pull it tight. And this thing, because of the width of the spine of the C, it will not bend and twist and warp. It's probably rated for, I'd say, 10,000 pounds. I got some rated for 100,000 pounds. I've got some that weigh 60 pounds just for the dang clamp. I do. I do. I don't need them, but I got them hanging up in there. I was going to carry them in, but I'm too lazy, too dang heavy. They're heavy. So, I've been wanting to talk about that. I don't think a lot of people are going to watch this. I think a lot of people, if you made it this far, you are one of the few. Absolutely. So, if you would, what are the things that when you go to the flea market or garage sales, do you like to get? What are the things that you want to pick up? What do you look forward to at a garage sale or a flea market? Or do you not? Do you like them all? Or do you like boutique shops? Or do you like Walmart? Or do you like Amazon? I don't like Amazon. I don't. I like to touch it, feel it, to make sure it's what it is. So, and have you ever sold at a flea market? I love selling at a flea market. It is my goal one day to go and buy one of those sets on late night TV where you buy 500 knives for $150, and I want to go out to the flea market and sell them for like $2 a piece and just take the grandkids and have a moment like that. That's always been my dream. That's always been my bucket list. I just never have been able to pull the trigger on getting that big old set. Right? I don't want to do onesie twosies. I want to have a ton out there like the regular knife vendors. I want to do that. That would be fun. I would have a blast. I have a blast with the kids. We would do that. That would be kind of cool. So, that's it. My cigar's halfway done. So I'll get my editing on. And I'll see you later. Let me know. Out of all of these things, by the way, I don't have a favorite. Because each one I was going to tell you what my favorite was, but I looked at them and I'm like, no. Because the oil can thing, I love that. The ruler, man, I really love that because it has me remembering I do the tactile fidget thing. The drills, I really love the fact that I'm going to be able to do that with the grandkids. That freaking clamp, ain't nobody got it, man. I love that thing. That's fantastic. That little Woogadoo tool, love that too. Now this thing right here, it's more of a work thing. I love that I have them, that I can give them away if I need to, that they're consumable. But it's probably my least loved. But one more thing I love. You. I do. Thank you for being awesome. You should never, ever sell yourself at a flea market. Never sell yourself anyway, but you should never be for sale at a flea market because you are priceless. Nobody should ever get a deal on you. You should be full price all the time. Get what you deserve because you deserve greatness, because you are amazing. And I do mean that. Now, I'm not talking about human trafficking. Do not take this sideways. I am not telling you to sell yourself. I'm just trying to use an analogy to talk about the value of you and tie it into a flea market. Let me make sure that's safe. I don't want to get canceled, and I don't want you saying, you know, Bob told me I should sell myself. No, don't even rent yourself. Love yourself. And I love you too. I'll see you later. Later, Tater.